Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I want to talk to you about awakening and activating your gifts, your knowing, and how is it that someone, normal person, just like me and you, are able to tap into things and realms that seem supernatural. And so I want to share with you a little story about something that happened to me just this last week with a client. I was in session with a client, and towards the end, I got this idea, thought, whatever you want to call it, that there was an ancestor of them by the name of Rose that was coming up. And I said, hey, I think there's an ancestor by the name of Rose, and it's coming up, and it's right here. And I said that, and I got nothing else, no other information, nothing. And it felt, and this is the part that I want you to pay attention to, it felt like nothing. It felt like it didn't feel like I thought about it. It didn't feel like I had seen it. It didn't feel like a feeling. It was just a thing. It just happened. It was there, right? And I verbalized it, right? I verbalized it means that this thing, whatever it was, however I received it, showed up and I spoke it. I said it. I shared it. Well, why am I telling you this? Because I have been doing this type of work for about 3 years now. And I still don't know how I receive things. I mean, I know how I receive, like it's like a knowing, but like I don't know the logistics of it, right? If you were a scientist saying, well, how does that happen? What exactly happens? I have no idea. I have no interest in knowing the idea because that's just not part of me, right? And if you are the type of the analytical person, of the skeptical person, I'm skeptical too, just to let you know. But if you are looking for the science behind it, I am not the person to explain it to you. But one of the reasons that I have been able to grow so quickly and so fast into my spiritual journey, into my knowing, into me being able to connect with other realms, with spirits, with my guides, is the fact that I do not question it. Or another word for it is that I trust, right? And trust is one of the hardest things to do because as children, when we were born and we started growing up, we were really connected to all of this different realms and different parts of us because we're all one. And as we got older and older, we began to not trust our knowing, what we were experiencing, what we were seeing, feeling, hearing, because the adults around us or the society around us told us that it wasn't true or that it was our imagination, right? And so, because as children we are learning from the adults in our world, we believe them. Well, they said it, so it must be true. And this is when we begin to not trust ourselves, our own knowing, as children, because we're being told something that conflicts with what we know by someone that we trust and love, our parents mostly, or the adults, right? So we begin to not trust ourselves. And as we get older, this is where a lot of the problems happen because we end up, something happens, and what do we do? What is the first thing that people do? We start asking other people, what should I do? Right? Hey, this came up. What should I do? And then you ask somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And you keep doing that. Why? I do that too, right? I did that as well. Because we don't trust what it's coming up for us when we always have the answer within us, but we don't trust it. And so we ask somebody else. And then when somebody else tells us something that is so close to what we know inside, then we go, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the answer. Right? And it's because they're reflecting on us what we already knew inside of us. But back to when you are awakened or going down your spiritual journey and you're awakening your connection to these gifts that you were born with, that is part of you. When you begin to listen to them, it feels like or seems like you're making it up, or that you're just thinking it, right? It's your imagination. I'm just imagining, like I did when I was a child. No, when you were a child, you were connected and you were told you were imagining. That's the difference, right? You have to unlearn the conditioning that you were taught as you were growing up so that you can learn and lean into what is the truth, which is that you are all one connected, a divine being connected to all the different realms, right? And that you have this super powerful gifts, right? Whether they are knowing, being able to see the cards or read a person or see an aura or help somebody with healing or whatever it is that your gift is coming through, that you know what that is, it feels like it's nothing. And so I'm sharing this because when I spoke those words last week to my client, and I was like, hey, there's an ancestor named Rose. After that, I retrieved my energy. I was like, oh gosh, was that true? Did I make that up? I question myself, right? I question myself. Even at this stage of all this work that I've been doing with myself, that I continue to do, I question it because that's all I got. And I was like, okay, well, that's what it is. And I let it be. And then I got confirmation, which is the most beautiful part of this spiritual journey, is when you get confirmation from the people that you're working with. And I got confirmation. My client was able to tell me a whole bunch of stories about this ancestor, which was the grandmother um, figure or energy that was named Rose. I mean, and the information that came through for her, for my client, that she shared with me, I'm listening to it and I'm going, oh my gosh. Like everything resonated. Everything was like, yes, 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 right? You get this like feeling of like, that's true, that's true. This is true for me. I'm listening to it. I'm getting a truth. I'm not feeling that like the skeptic, like that's not right. Like that doesn't feel right. I'm not getting that. I'm getting like, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was almost in tears because I was like, wow, from that one little bit of information that I received, that I trusted, that I verbalized and delivered to my client, she was able to receive so much more, put things together, and then tell me all of that back to me. So that I was like, oh my God, yeah, of course, right? So that's the confirmation. And I'm sharing because especially if you haven't done the spiritual journey yet, or you're thinking of leaning into it, you are already connected. Things feel as your own voice in your head, your own thoughts. It feels that way. Why does it feel that way? Because that's just who you are. That's just the way it may come in for you, right? But like I'm saying, like I don't have the language to explain how I received the message that I received, that then I was able to speak it in English and give that message to my client. But I don't know, I can't tell you. I don't have the actual English words to tell you how it is that I received the message that I was able to send, right? And so the part that I don't question it, that I just trust, okay, this is coming through, let me just speak it because this must be, right? The part that I just trust is what has allowed my gifts to continue to develop, to continue to grow and expand beyond my wildest dreams. And when you have people in your circle who trust you, believe in you, believe in what you're experiencing, you're able to share what's going through your mind, through your being, right? You're able to share these things and you're received, right? Like they might even not understand it either, but at least they receive it. They don't deny it. That is the type of nurturing energy, the type of nurturing people that you need around you while you're going through your spiritual journey. Because when you have naysayers, non believers, skeptical people who are not open to anything other than what's legit in front of them, then we revert back to not trusting ourselves. So I'll give you an example. How many times, I'm going to give you for me, for example, right? Um, I would have a conversation with somebody and I would get a knowing. I'm going to call it a knowing because, again, I don't have the English words to explain or express like how exactly this is. I'm just going to call it like a knowing. Like, I don't know how, I just know. Okay. That. So I would get a knowing about something. I would have a conversation with somebody and I would get an answer and I would say it. And they would deny it. No, that can't be because blah, 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 right? That's ridiculous. Blah, 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 blah. No, that's not what I mean. Blah, 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 blah. Right? You've explained this. You've experienced this. I mean, right? You've experienced things like that. What happens in that moment is that you immediately retrieve and close yourself to like, oh, I was wrong. And that's it. That's all that happens. So when you are living your day-to-day life, and you're experiencing things, you get that knowing, you can hear, you can see it, whatever it is that how you receive your messages, right? Whichever way it is that you receive it, when you speak it and when you're speaking to people who are not on your path, who are not part of your tribe, who are not ready to receive or be open to something other than, then they're going to come up with 1,001 answers that negate what you just received. And once they give you that answer, you are going to believe them. And you're going to deny yourself again by saying to yourself, oh, I was wrong. I don't know where I got that from, but it was not the right thing. I can't do it. I thought I was getting this information, but it wasn't, right? So you're going to go back to that part of not trusting what you are receiving. And this is how I lived my life until 3 years ago. I would say something and I would get shut down and I would just be quiet. Oh, I must have been wrong, right? Oh, it's kind of like the little girl getting scolded for saying something wrong. That's the feeling I would get, right? So I'm sure if you're listening to this, you can relate to this. So then, when I started doing the spiritual work, I began to trust more and more in what I was receiving. And then I started getting the validation because the people that I started bringing into my circle, this is so important, people, were people who were also open and seeking answers and there for something more than what they had been taught. And so when I share this type of stuff with them, it would be received and confirmed. Confirm is when you say something and they'll go, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, right? Oh, I'm seeing, I'm feeling a male figure, an older, like a father figure. Oh, yes, my father passed away, right? That confirmation, right? Right there. So it's like that. And then you begin to practice more and trust more. The more you trust, the better you get, right? Because you're remembering this. Now, when I slip, because now I have also learned not to share what I'm receiving with people who don't want it, right? Before I was like, oh, come on, listen to this. This is so amazing. This is like great. Come on, like this, like listen to this. This is amazing. Like open up. People are not ready. We're not here to make them ready. They have to be ready and open to receiving on their own. I didn't know this back then, right? I was trying to shove my knowledge on other people. No. So now I know better, right? Excuse me. So now sometimes I slip, right? Sometimes I'm in conversation with a friend, something just comes out, and then I get that look of like, what the heck? How'd you know that? Right? Or that defiance. No, that can't be. Blah, 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 blah. So now when this happens for me, I know, oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry to myself for having slipped. That person is not open. They are not receiving the information. It's not that I am wrong, it's that they are not ready to receive it. They're denying it. But I actually know that this is still true, right? And it doesn't bother me anymore because I know that it's not me, it's them that are not ready to receive the information. I'm going to give you something else. many, many, many times, this is in the past, when I would say something and it would be shut down or turned down or negated, and I would retrieve down like a scolded little girl. Later on, it would be revealed that I was right. Whatever I had said that came out, I was right. Many other times, I never got that confirmation because I didn't see the person again or just whatever. Like, I didn't get it, right? Like, that was the end of the conversation and that was that. But a lot of other times, I did get it. I did get that confirmation later. And then I would go back, like, oh, wait a second, I was right, right? So maybe you're at this stage when you are saying things, you're being turned down, but then later on, you are seeing the results that what you said, what you predicted, what you've sensed was in fact correct. This happened to me when I was 13. I was 13. I was staying at a friend's house with my brother and sister. We were staying with another family who also had three kids. And I remember that I was by the dining room and I saw out of the corner of my eye the shape of a person standing there across the dining room table from me. And this person was short in stature, a little chubby, and I knew in that moment that this was the spirit of someone that had passed. I saw them. They had short hair, and I started thinking. I was 13. I was like, oh my gosh, who do I know that looks like this? Because it wasn't that clear. It was a dark room, right? And I was like, who do I know that's like this? And I was like, oh, it's my grandfather. My grandfather in Chile. He was short. He was kind of like rounded. And I was like, it's him. And I started asking my father, because this is my father's father, have you heard from grandpa? Have you called him? Right? I was like, I didn't want to say anything. Hey, I saw the spirit here. But I really wanted to get that confirmation. Like, hey, can you call home? Like, what happened? Right? Of course, back then I didn't realize that if somebody was going to cross over like that the family would be calling us to let us know. I was not thinking this. So a month goes by. My father does call at some point. Excuse me. And he's alive and well. And I said, oh, I was wrong. But I knew deep inside that I wasn't. I knew deep inside that I had seen the spirit of someone. It's just that I couldn't humanly conceive who it could have been. And the only person that I could think of that looked like that was my grandfather. So when I found out that he was fine and well, I just retrieved and I was like thinking, I was wrong. Who could it be? I know I saw somebody, but I guess I was wrong, right? So about from the time that it happened, about 4 or 5 weeks, we get a letter, right? This is snail mail here, right? We get a letter from my mother. It was a lady, fit the what I saw exactly. She had very short hair like a man. She had crossed over. She was a dear friend of my mother's, and she used to babysit for us sometimes at our home. So I knew her. And that's who it was. And she got this letter um, from the family letting her know that she had crossed over. This was when I was 13. So that was one of my confirmations. This is one of the experiences that I had. I wanted to share with you because I want you to think back and connect the dots of like what you felt, what you have experienced, to realize that it is more about what you see, what you feel, and how you trust it. When you start to get that really deep thing inside of you, like, no, like I know this, I know this. That's when you're really getting closer to being fully able to use your gifts. And if you're there and you need help with your awakening journey, with the way of your path, with healing deeply so that you can awaken and open up to your gifts, let me know, reach out, because that's my specialty, people. So that is the message here, that trust in yourself, in how you're receiving the things, because they really feel like nothing sometimes. They just feel like, I have no idea what I thought of the color blue, but I said it to the person and it made sense to them. That is what you want to begin to pay attention to. Trust, to begin to really expand on your gifts and know the powerful ways that you are able to change your life when you are tapped into these different parts of you. Sending you so, so much love, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.